Hi, everyone. Welcome back to a new episode of Emerging Brands Podcast with Kelly Bennett. Today, I have a very special guest, someone that I've had the opportunity to work with behind the scenes on her brand strategy. Crystal Hale of Dripspoon is on the show today. And Crystal, I am so excited to have you.
I appreciate that. I'm excited to be here. Obviously, I love talking to you. I love seeing your face, and I'm excited to share my story.
Amazing. Something that really struck me when I was working with Crystal is her story and how she's been building the brand and taking the next step and really putting herself out there by starting with an idea and figuring out how to make it happen. So, Crystal, can you share a little bit of the story behind the brand? How did it start? Why did you start it? Bring us behind the scenes.
Yeah, sure. I think I should probably talk a little bit about my background as it doesn't relate to cakes.
Please
I
do.
actually work for I work for my family business, which is in the industry of construction, and it's something that I've sort of been born into. And so, making the jump from construction over to cakes is a bit of a stretch, but they kind of work together because this brand is something that really feeds me creatively, and I do love food and I do love cake specifically. So it's nice to have both. I think it's also interesting and something that's very much a part of my story is, and maybe other founders can find some truth to this is, sometimes we're in this industry that works. It might be a family business, you might be a doctor, a lawyer, have like this profession or this road that you kind of set out on that everybody is sort of looking for you to follow. And it could be a little difficult to sort of venture out and do something that's against the grain, especially if you do work for a family business. So I have managed to be able to do both, and I feel very lucky and blessed about that. So I guess I like a little cake with my construction.
I love it. And that's a really great point too, that I'm sure that many founders feel of going against the grain, doing the unexpected. I think by and large, most founders do need to do that because when you're going out and setting out to build a brand that you literally made up in your mind, most of the time you're kind of setting out on your own path, right? And there's no one who's ever done it exactly the way that you'll be doing it or started and has the same exact story. So I'm really glad that you touched upon that to just give comfort to other founders who are like, I don't even know anyone who's worked in construction and then started a cake business on the side, right? And so by you just sharing that, it could be that sign to someone else of like, okay, I can figure this out. I can do this. What has been those steps of, okay, so you work the 9 to 5 family business in
Mhm.
construction, you started baking cakes at home. What happened that you're like, I'm going to make this a brand. I'm going to make this a business?
Sure, sure. So, like many others during the pandemic, I took up baking, not sourdough. I didn't really, do that whole thing, but I had baked before the pandemic, but I really used that time as an opportunity to like hone my skills and to do more research on, online and YouTube and social media and trying out different recipes. So, I said, man, I'm kind of itching to start like a little side project. Construction is great, family business is great, but like I want to do something creative. And I was like, I really love cake, but I love good cake, right? Like not shitty cake. So at first I thought that I would form this sort of business centered around doing like slices of cake and maybe do like a tea pairing with them or like a champagne or wine pairing or something. And then I just kept kind of like workshopping the idea and drilling down, drilling down. I was in bed one night, right before I went to fell asleep. I was like, mini loaf cakes. I'm going to do mini loaf cakes. And at this time, I was listening to Candace, I believe her last name is Nelson. She's the founder of Sprinkles. I was listening to her
Yep.
book, and she offered this nugget of advice, which I found really helpful. She said, it was important for her to niche down, right? To like find something that was already existing, like the cupcake, but like find a way to refine it and like really make it a thing and niche down and elevate it. So I took that and kind of ran with it in terms of mini loaves. Mini loaves have been around for a while. you don't really see them all over the place, right? Like you see
Right.
cupcakes, you see whole cakes, slices of cakes, whatever. And so I thought, wow, maybe I can take this concept of a mini loaf and really sort of elevate it in the way that Candace has with cupcakes. And to expand on that, I thought it would be really good as a concept because as we get older, I find that like a lot of people don't really like a lot of frosting or like overly sweet desserts. The kids, the first thing they do when they get a cupcake is like scrape the frosting off. But as we get older, like we don't really want that so much. So the mini loaf, the cake itself is not overly sweet, but then it doesn't come with like a frosting, right? Or something that you would find on a cupcake. It's a drip, it's a glaze, it's an icing. So that really lends itself to being a dessert that's not overly sweet. It's something that kids still like. I have two kids, it's kid approved, but it's something that like adults also enjoy and feel like they could like slice and have in the morning with, a cup of coffee or tea. So that was really the concept behind it.
And that was something that struck out to me or stood out to me rather, when we were working on the brand strategy of how clear your vision was of visually having a drip and how you really worked on dripping
The
the
icing,
topping, the
glaze, whatever you want to call
icing,
it. Yeah.
what you call a drip, which is awesome. And that you were really particular of even how you were matching the colors with the cakes and the drip. And I'm like, yes, it's those attention to detail from a marketing perspective as well that really make it stand out. And also as a consumer, I like to buy things that are eye catching, that are cool, different, not seen everywhere, because that's what you want to bring to a party, a gathering,
Hmm.
right? Something that you want to share with others and also for yourself. And so that really stood out to me of how meticulous you were about the drip and matching the colors. So yeah, I absolutely love that. And that's again a differentiator. Walk us through when you started actually selling them.
Yeah, so when I first kind of went to market, I launched my website and people were able or still are able to order, on the website. And my strategy initially was like, oh, I will market to like my neighbors and people like in my local community and start out that way. I didn't get a whole lot of traction that way, but I started venturing off into different markets, in my
Yes.
area, not farmers markets, but like artisan markets.
Hmm.
And I that's when I really got the shot in the arm when I did my first like artisan market because I was able to get feedback directly from consumers. And I always offer samples, which is important. So first thing is people are drawn to the way that they look, back to what you were saying, right? Like
Yes.
aesthetically, they're very beautiful, Instagrammable, like they're inviting. People are interested. They come up, they get a sample, they can taste the quality of the cake, they can feel the texture of it. And so after that, I got them.
Hmm.
So yeah, after I did that first market, I said, okay, maybe I should switch my strategy from what I initially thought to doing more markets. And it's that feedback loop that I'm getting. It's like I'm thinking about something, creating something, people are enjoying this something, and then they're giving me feedback on this something, and so like that works for me in my brain. And then recently my strategy is targeting corporations,
Hmm.
because I do want to do volume, right? And so companies are always having events, birthday parties and holiday celebrations and whatever. And so I think that this would be a good way for me to do volume and to also have more of an idea of like how many cakes I need to produce for an event, right? Like with going to a market, it's always a little nerve wracking because it's like I'm not sure how much to make. I hate coming back home with cakes. Am I going to sell out too early? So yeah, that's sort of like my strategy for the new year is targeting corporations.
And I love that. And something that was a standout to me as well when we were working on the brand strategy is when you're starting out, sometimes it feels like you're talking to the abyss of the internet and you're putting yourself out there. And especially when you're starting off online, D2C, it's a great way to get started. But I'm so happy that you went through to do your first market. And also you've sold out. your first market, and I
Yeah.
believe your second market too. And so I even heard from the market organizers how you even stood out at market
Awesome.
because
Yeah.
you were up, you had energy, you were sampling, you were talking about your product with confidence. And I think so many people could overthink that step of putting it out there in person because it's scary, it's nerve-wracking. You've
Mm.
created something, you've been dreaming of this thing. What helped you have that confidence to say, okay, I'm going to be at a market,
Out here.
people join. Yeah, and I remember we were talking about it, you're like, "Okay, it's time. I see it. I get it." What helped you
Yeah.
say yes to going to the market?
Oh, I think a couple of things. First thing is you, right? I
Oh,
mean, seriously, you really helped me with my brand strategy. You identified different ways that I could go to market. And then once those ways were identified, you really helped me with my confidence in terms of just like, hey, you can do this. Don't overthink it. Just get out here, start small, like it's fine. So you definitely were a catalyst in that. And
well,
I'm
thank
always
you.
super appreciative of that. Yeah. The second thing is I think my background in business sort
Mhm.
of helps with that because I work in business development in my family business. And so that's sales, right? Like that's
Right.
me picking up the phone and calling people, getting rejected, like putting myself out there to people that I don't know. So I think like that's a very transferable skill that I was able to take with this concept where it's like, hey, nothing's personal, you know?
Right.
I have something that I believe in that I feel good about. I know the quality is there and I think people are going to receive it well. And, if they don't, that's fine. Like that's an opportunity for me to get their feedback and make it better.
Absolutely. Well, one, thank you for saying that. Two, I want to give out a shout out to Creative Commune because that's Creative Communal, right? That's
Yes.
the market that you did in LA. They were really great also of communication, of supporting a first time brand at their market, which I
Mhm.
think is a really important thing also. And something that you said as far as it's not personal, right?
Right.
And putting yourself out there and being like, "You know what? It's not personal. Worst case scenario, someone says no, but maybe I get some feedback." And I
Mhm.
think that is such an important aspect of a mindset as a founder because we could take things really personal, especially in the early days, especially what I've noticed from a marketing curate I used to curate maker markets. People would take things feedback really, really personal because they're making something, which is totally understandable, right?
Mhm.
It's like a piece of your soul on this
Yeah.
table, right?
Your baby.
It's your baby. And so I really like how you said of not taking it personal, using your skill set that you have in your 9 to 5 for your own business and allowing yourself to just put it out there. Something that I wanted to ask, because I'm sure that it's fresh on your mind. What is a piece of advice you would share with a founder who's maybe in the early stages? They're still brainstorming the concept. They're maybe putting out the feelers of like, okay, can I really do this? What's something that you learned that maybe you've done sooner or was really important that when it clicked in, you're like, okay, this is really helpful, impactful. What type of advice would you share?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it goes back to what I was talking about earlier with what Candice Nelson was sharing in her book
Mhm.
about taking something that already exists, but niching down and finding a way to refine it, to make it your own, and to elevate it. That concept really, really clicked with me. And I've heard that from other, at-home bakers that have businesses. It's sort of they're all sort of saying the same thing in different ways. I think if we try to be all the things to all the people and put out all the products, that can be super overwhelming in the beginning, right? Like just take it easy, find one or two things that you want to focus on and just work it. That would be my piece of advice.
I think that's such solid advice, and it's really funny that you said that in particular because during a brand strategy call just this week, I had to tell a client, "Stop. You're trying to
Yeah.
do the most and trying to market to people who aren't even your target market." because you don't want to leave them
Right.
out. And so I was explaining to her, and I think that what you just touched upon is niching down actually helps you get known for your product, your service a lot faster than if you were trying to do everything under the sun. It's really hard to market. And especially when you're a solo founder, you're bootstrapping your brand, right? You're doing working a 9 to 5 and growing a business at the same
Mhm.
time. You have to be really strategic with your time, your money, just your creative energy overall. And so I love that piece of advice of niching down, getting known, starting with a few SKUs, a few flavors, and building from there. That
Right.
is such a powerful strategy. I
Yeah.
would love to hear this year coming up. We're recording January 2024. What is the vision that you have for Drip Spoon?
It's another great question. So the vision that I have for Drip Spoon is sort of what I mentioned earlier is I really want to do volume. You know, I want to continue to be known, and that's going to happen through my social media strategy, which, full transparency, right? So all the founders out there, it's hard, right? Like it's hard to be all the things and do all the things and keep up
It
the social
is.
media. And I personally struggle with that because like I'm not like a share naturally on social media, like in my personal life. But I think, going forward, that's something that I want to find a way to make that comfortable for me. So I want to put some energy into that and really just, again, targeting the corporations. And I think that's a way for me to grow the business that feels comfortable to me as well. And it also will work with my schedule. I mean, it can be difficult doing markets all the time when you have two
Totally.
kids and a family and all these extracurricular activities that the kids have. So I think that, I this year I want to find more ways to make this business work for me and my lifestyle so that it remains enjoyable while I build it. So I can continue to build it.
Again, that's also a great piece of advice of finding the systems that work for you and your lifestyle and not putting this pressure that you have to do it like everyone else because you're not everyone else. You have your own unique lifestyle. You have self-care, you have time with your
Mhm.
family, right? Like all of those are priorities. So finding a way of what makes sense based off of your lifestyle, your needs, your wants, your visions, and making sure that your brand and your business structure and processes fit that, right? And support
Mhm.
that. So that's a really great call out as well. I know you're based in LA. Where can people find Drip Spoon? Where can they shop your amazing mini loaves?
Sure. So if you're in the LA area, you can find me at www.dripspoon.com, just how it sounds. And then also on Instagram, Dripspoon and Facebook and all the others. But yeah, I mean, I'm local right now. I get asked a lot, do you ship? Do you ship? And I always reluctantly have to say no, but that is definitely a goal in the future to be able to ship.
I love
Yeah.
it. And I'm really excited to have this say early years, early stages of your brand, and then interviewing you again, even next year or 5 years from now, and just talking
Yes.
about how it all scaled, right? And this is a really cool documentation of the really early days. And I'm just so proud of you. And I can't wait to see what Drip Spoon does in the year ahead and many years ahead. So, congratulations, Crystal. You're doing
Well,
awesome.
thank you.
You're
Thank you. I mean,
welcome.
I owe a lot to you, like you
Oh,
really helped me like putting that strategy together for my brand and going to market. I mean, there was a lot of pieces that needed to come together that you really helped form for me. So thank you.
well, it was my pleasure. I am a big fan. You're doing all the right next steps. And everyone, go follow Drip Spoon. I'll put all the links in the show notes. Thank you, everyone, for listening. If you're in LA, go check out Drip Spoon. And thank you again, Crystal. Can't wait to see what happens next. Bye,
Thank
everyone.
you. Bye-bye.